Good morning or good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order our regular Planning Commission meeting for August 24th, 2020. I'd like to start with roll call. We'll go ahead and defer to Director Boyke on that one.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Bigham.
Here.
Commissioner Britton.
Here.
Fisher.
Here.
Frazier.
Here.
Knable. Knable, you there?
Yep, here.
Rasmussen. I saw him click there. There he is. Can I get a here, Rasmussen?
Here.
Thank you. And Chair Kambata.
Here. On to item number 3, approval of agenda. At this time, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Frazier.
A motion to approve from Commissioner Frazier. Do we have a second?
Second from Commissioner Bigham.
Second from Commissioner Bigham. I'll defer to roll call on this one. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Commissioner Frazier.
Aye.
Commissioner Bigham.
Aye.
Commissioner Britton.
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher.
Aye.
Commissioner Knable. Kambata.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item on our agenda will be open forum. This will be an opportunity for anybody to speak on behalf of an item that is not already on tonight's agenda. If you could, anyone out there watching, we've got 2 options for speaking up. The first is going to be to post a question using the Q&A option. If you post a question, I'll state the question to the Planning Commission and staff, and we'll address the questions accordingly. The second would be to use the raise my hand option. If you wish to verbally ask a question, please test your device's microphone prior to selecting the raise my hand option to assure you will be heard. I'll then call on you by name, and you may ask the question, and then please understand that once the question is asked, you'll be muted, and we'll have an opportunity to respond. If you have follow-up questions, please reselect the raise my hand option. I'll go ahead and give a minute or 2 to see if anything pops up on Q&A or if anyone would like to speak up. Okay, I'm not seeing anyone. Give it one more minute here. And moving on. All right. Go ahead and have director stop over here with the chair's explanation of the hearing benefit or hearing process, as I do not have an updated copy in front of me. So we'll give just a moment for that. All right. Chair's explanation of the hearing process. Planning Commission is a volunteer advisory group to the City Council. One of the Commission's functions is to hold public hearings and make recommendations on land use and zoning matters. The purpose of these public hearings is to provide an opportunity for each applicant and citizens to present information, ask questions, and express opinions. Since these proceedings are televised and recorded for the public record, anyone wishing to speak can do so in one of two ways. As previously mentioned, you can post a question using the Q&A option. If you post a question, I will state the question to the Planning Commission and staff, and we will address the questions accordingly. Your second option is to use the raise my hand option if you wish to verbally ask a question. Please test your device's microphone prior to selecting the raise my hand option to assure that you will be heard. I will then call on you by name to ask the question. Please understand that once the question is asked, you will be muted. If you have follow-up questions, please reselect the raise my hand option to ask additional questions. Staff reports are prepared and provided to the applicant and Planning Commission in advance of these meetings. The first step in the hearing process will be for staff to present a summary of the report. The applicant will then have the opportunity to briefly explain the proposal and provide additional information or comment. Anyone wanting to speak in favor or against the proposal will then be heard. Upon completion of the testimony, the hearing will be closed to the public comments. The Planning Commission will then discuss and act on the matter. The agenda packet is available for viewing on the City of Cottage Grove website. The City Council will act on this item at their meeting on Wednesday, September 2nd, 2020, which starts at 7 p.m. And with that, we move on to item 6. Item 6.1, Hy-Vee Outdoor Sales, interim conditional use permit 2020-040, with John Burbank presenting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Good evening. Hy-Vee Inc. has applied for an interim conditional use permit to allow temporary outdoor sales of seasonal products on special from a 20 by 80 foot tent in the northwest corner of the Hy-Vee parking lot at 7280 East Point Douglas Road. The temporary outdoor sales will be conducted from September 3rd through October 31st, and the applicant is requesting that it be a 1 year period.
Share your screen.
So again, it's at the Hy-Vee store located off of East Point Douglas, south of 80th Street. The tent will be located in the northwest corner or southwest corner, excuse me, and it'll be 80 by 20 feet. Again, it'll be from September 3rd through October 31st. They'd be open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. It would have for a 1 year period, and then there would be a building permit required with the tent this year. So on September 3rd, they would have a candy carnival. September 10th, it'd be Vikings theme. September 17th is a farmer's market. September 24th is a cereal sale. October 31st is a fall festival. October 8th is a beverage sale, non-alcoholic. October 15th would be houseware sale. October 22nd would be meat truckload sale. And then the 29th, fitting for the time of year, would be Halloween. We are recommending that you recommend to the City Council that they approve the ICUP for temporary outdoor sales of seasonal specialty products from a 20 by 80 foot tent in the Hy-Vee parking lot at 7280 East Point Douglas Road South, subject to conditions.
Thank you, sir. At this time, do any members of the commission have any questions or comment to add for staff? Okay. Would the applicant like to add any information? Is the applicant on tonight?
Mr. Chair, I see the applicant is on the webinar version. So if he does have anything to say, he would have to raise his hand. I think Chris, our administrator, is on the call as well, and he can facilitate that.
Okay. Let me know if he pops up here. We'll give him a minute.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Joe Stupka. I'm the store director here at the store. I guess I don't have necessarily anything else to add. It was more of just letting you guys know that I was here and listening to any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. This time, additional question or comment from the commission?
I do have one question.
Yeah, this is,
Oh, do you want to go first?
Sorry,
sure, this is Commissioner Knable.
go ahead.
I just have a question about the capacity of the tent with the COVID-19 guidelines. What are they going to look like, and will they be posted anywhere around the tent?
Yes, we'll have capacity limits. We'll have it staffed and manned. That the capacity would be no greater than 100 people with an 80-foot tent. Should be very easy to keep 6-foot distance. We'll also have markings throughout the entire parking lot to make sure that everybody's safe. I mean, kind of the point of doing this is for the people that do not want to go inside of a building. Gives them another opportunity to get some of the things that they would like.
Will the tent be closed off, or how is that going to look like during the day, or will all the flaps be up?
No, it will be a closed off tent for the most part. I mean, it'll have the sides. Depending on the day and time and weather outside, we can move all the things up so that way it has more breathability and airflow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Knable. Did we have another question from Commissioner Fisher?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm wondering if you're asking for a 1-year ICUP, will the tent stay up for the entire year? Will it be taken down, and then will you need special permission or another building permit to put it back up within the year time frame? How does that work?
It is going to be a rented tent, so it's going to be up from September 3rd until October 31st, and then it will not be up again.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any additional questions or comment from the commission?
I do. This is Commissioner Bigham.
Go ahead.
My question, thank you, is more so regarding the security of the tent. Do products go into the tent on a daily basis? I know hours look to be 10 to 7. Is that something that your product you're bringing back and forth, or does the tent that you use secure the product, or do you have security? It's more so just a curiosity question for what's going to be there each week.
Yeah, so the tent will have the ability to tie down and lock down. I mean, if someone wants to get in, they would be able to get in. Thursday through Sunday would have product in it, and then it would be empty from Monday to Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you. If we have no further questions from the commission at this time, I will go ahead and open public hearing on this matter. And again, for anybody else watching, you've got one of two options for posting a question. You can use the Q&A option. I'll state the question to the Planning Commission and staff, and then we'll address questions accordingly. Or you may use the raise my hand option if you wish to verbally ask a question. Please test your device to make sure that it's working prior to selecting the raise my hand option. We will go ahead and give a moment to see if anyone pops up here. I'm not seeing anything. Can the administrator confirm that I'm not missing anything?
No attendees have raised their hands.
All right. We'll give it one more second, and then we'll go ahead and close public hearing. All right. Public hearing is closed. Further questions or comment from the commission on this matter? All All right, with that, I would look for a motion.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Bigham.
We've got a motion to approve from Commissioner Bigham. Do we have a second?
Motion is second, Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. Second from Commissioner Fisher. Further discussion? Questions or comment? All right, with that, I will defer to roll call. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Bigham,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Britton,
Aye.
Commissioner Frazier,
Aye.
Commissioner Knable,
Aye.
Commissioner Rasmussen,
Aye.
and Chair Kambata.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. On to item 7, which is approval of Planning Commission minutes for July 27th, 2020. Were there any corrections that needed to be made or any discussion on regarding those minutes? If we see none, then I would move forward, and I'm looking for a motion.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Frazier.
I have a motion to approve July's minutes from Commissioner Frazier. Do we have a second?
Second from Commissioner Rasmussen.
Second from Commissioner Rasmussen. Further discussion on that? Okay. At this point, I'll defer to roll call. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Frazier,
Aye.
Commissioner Rasmussen.
Aye.
Commissioner Bigham,
Aye.
Commissioner Britton,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Knable,
Aye.
and Chair Kambata.
Aye. Motion carries. On to item 8, reports. 8.1, recap of August City Council meetings.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. There were 2 meetings since the previous Planning Commission meeting. First one being on August 5th. There were 3 items on the agenda pertaining to items reviewed by the Planning Commission, first of which being zoning ordinance amendment for accessory apartments, which was approved by council. Second one being the septic system variance at 7981 River Acres Road, which was also approved by council. And third, the Northwick final plat, which was also approved by council. The meeting on August 19th, 2020, there were no items that were reviewed by the Planning Commission at that meeting. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Dennis for his updates.
All right, thank you, Director Boyk. I just would stand for any questions tonight that the commission might have of me regarding anything relative to the council's business.
Councilmember Dennis, I do have to say that I'm happy to see the section of 80th Street being redone between Jamaica and Highway 19. I know that that's been a recurring question to both Planning Commission and council members from our community. So I think that a lot of people are happy to see that finally being taken on here.
Thank you for that feedback, Chair Kambata. And, we realize that, we have a tremendous investment that has been made in the infrastructure of our roadways here in our city. And one of the things that we have sought to do over the years is to provide some roadway project management, including maintenance facets, and then also a repair or replacement periodically as needed. So that particular section of road, I believe, dates back the very bottom base of it to the late 1960s. So it definitely was time that we do something with that. And so that's part of a greater plan for other things. I know on our budget that we just preliminarily finished up. We haven't taken the final vote on it yet, but we did indicate that we were willing to invest 1% additional levy funding in order to provide some money to take care of some of the interior neighborhood projects and things like that. So when it comes to taking care of the roads, we live in one of the most harsh climates in the entire United States relative to heat, cold, the amount of precipitation, the fact we put salt down on the roads, UV, I mean, you name it. And so one of the things that we don't want to do is we don't want to get ourselves into a challenging situation like some of the bigger cities inside the Beltway have, where they now have needs that outstrip their ability to provide funding adequately to do what's necessary. So it's all about protecting and maintaining and keeping this investment in a level of decency, I think, relative to the fact that people have spent a lot of money here as a community over the course of the years to have these wonderful roads. So we're very happy to continue working on that, and that's going to be a priority here for us as we go forward, along with some other things. And I very much appreciate that feedback and that question.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know you guys do hard work over there, so it's nice to be able to show, like, physically see something, because a lot of what we do on the commission and at the council doesn't necessarily turn into something as tangible as a roadway. So.
Right, and one of the things that we do, we're always very mindful from a financial standpoint of ensuring that we're not biting off more than we can chew financially. The community, we generate so much tax capacity as an example, and so to ensure that we're living within the means, we've had over the past few years some additional projects that came up for the community. One example was the new Central Fire Station. So we chose to put the money into that because that provides, life and safety service and features here on behalf of the community. And we stood back a little bit from some of the roadway, maintenance projects. But now that we've taken care of some of these other, greater needs, we're stepping back into a role. We're going forward. We're going to get back into making sure that we're doing that so that we don't get ourselves behind the 8 ball.
Well, thank you. Any additional questions or comment for Councilmember Dennis? Okay. Thank you,
All right,
sir.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
We'll move on to item 8.2, response to Planning Commission inquiries. I believe we had a follow-up regarding Clearview Triangle.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Staff provided a memo regarding the code language pertaining to the Clearview triangles at the corner of properties, basically limiting any type of obstruction, visual obstruction in the corners of properties. The code language is Title 11-3-5E, which defines the Clearview triangle as basically only on the front corners, and it's a 10-foot clear sight triangle. So that's from the front property line and the corner side property line, as the diagram indicates there. Measure back 10 feet. So basically prohibiting a fence or landscaping or any type of site obstruction from being located in that corner. So with that, it does not pertain to, I know one specific property was brought up or has been brought up, does not pertain to the rear corner properties. So certainly if that's something that the Planning Commission feels strongly about, coming from the previous community that I worked for, it did pertain to all property lines, so it may make some sense to look at adding that to the rear property lines as well to avoid any type of site triangle issue. So with that, I guess I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chair, and the Planning Commission if there are any further questions on that.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to item 8.3, Planning Commission. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Commissioner Britton.
Thanks. I'd just like to before we leave this topic, I want to thank staff for all the hard work they put into in providing the information. I know Amanda's done a lot of work as well to help me better understand this. And I do think that we have a hole in our ordinance here with regard to the rear property line. The picture that we can see in the staff report shows, a street in a front yard, but there are properties within our community that have a street in the front yard and a street in the rear of the yard, for example, 77th and County Road 19. And there is pretty much no viewing triangle at that particular intersection because of whatever reason. But if we had the restriction of the rear yard setback as well, I think that it would greatly improve the safety in the community. So I would like to see us look at that, and even take it a step further. In that one example that I mentioned, it's on a larger roadway. So I would say 80th Street, County Road 19, even though it's a county road, but just say bigger streets. If it's, I know that the ordinance says 10 feet, but the picture that we see here is on a lower speed residential roadway. And what I'm concerned with is when either the front or the rear yard property line are running parallel to a larger roadway. Number one, I think that we should have that in the ordinance as well, to have a clear viewing triangle. And the other is to also consider increasing it to 15 feet. And that I'll just throw that in there for staff to consider as well, such that it's a faster speed roadway. If 10 feet is appropriate for a slower speed residential street, then 15 feet would give better sight lines in when it abuts a larger street. So in my opinion, I think that, you know, we should take a look at that and make sure that we're not missing out on these viewing triangles in areas where the rear property line abuts a roadway.
How would, this is a question to Commissioner Britton, how would you see us implementing those if we were to adopt any future guidelines retroactively?
Well, I don't think that, I think, you know, we could ask staff this about non-conforming uses and things along those lines. I'm not really trying to push, in most cases, the retroactive enforcement of this. But if a fence were to come down, or mainly I'm concerned with newer projects.
Okay.
We got newer developments. You know, that's my biggest concern. If we're building something new, we shouldn't keep making the same mistakes.
Are you, aside from the Highway 19 and 77th interchange, are you seeing anything that rises to the level of, you know, requiring the city to take an immediate look at from a health and safety standpoint? Any other examples where maybe there's a health and safety risk that is being overlooked that we should talk to public safety or public works to have them assess that interchange? Or is this just kind of like a general kind of wanting to move the needle in the right direction here moving forward?
Yes, I want to move the direction, you know, as in the future, to move the needle in the right direction. So my primary, I don't see a lot of intersections that are unsafe because of this. I think they would be safer with some additional verbiage here. As simple as, you know, in the ordinance that we currently have, it says front and side, and then you have a triangle. If you did front and rear and side, or as Ben mentioned, all property lines. So, you know, what do other communities, how do they state it? I would like them to look into 77th and 19, because, I mean, that's 2 feet. And I'm not pushing that we force something to happen there, but, you know, there's pretty much no triangle there. But in general, I'm just looking for the future. You know, as we have new subdivisions coming in, they should be platted with easements done in such a way that these rules are known about, so that if a developer is building something, he's going to know, hey, I got to have a viewing triangle here. If I think somebody is going to buy a house on that corner and I'm worried about them putting a fence up, then they can pad it a little bit. But at least we'll have that verbiage in there so that it's eyes wide open. You know, these are the rules. You know, when we're putting in these new subdivision and new homes, this is what we should be doing.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, if you don't mind me adding a little bit to Commissioner Britton's comments and questions. As we look at some of these newer developments coming in, we really are seeing these trails being put in adjacent to mostly county roads, with maybe the exception of Ravine Parkway and 80th Street that are a bit wider with heavier traffic. But in general, it's mostly adjacent to county roads. We did chat with the county about if they have a policy or procedure. They do not have a policy in place. They just have a general practice where they do put their trail as close to the road as they feel is comfortable. They will put the trail closer to the edge of the right of way in instances where they see the road potentially widening in the future so that they're not having to move a trail later on down the road. If we look at a couple of examples of developments going in right now, I think of Woodward Ponds, which is adjacent to Ravine Parkway, and Langdon Hills, which is adjacent to 70th Street, which is a county road. Langdon Hills is off of 65th Street, which is a county road. Both of those developments, the developer is actually putting most of their stormwater closer to that major roadway, which is providing buffer between the developments and that trail. So that should help at least some of those developments. We have seen developers putting some of their stormwater management closer to those major roads to provide buffers just to their homes that they're building. So it's a little bit nicer for their residents. So we can definitely, take a look at development by development as they're going in. When the trails are going in county right-of-way, the county does review and approve those plans because ultimately the trails in the right-of-way, in the county right-of-way, would be a county trail. The city does plow them, but it is ultimately the county's to own and maintain. So just a little bit of additional information, if that's helpful, hopefully.
Thank you.
So, Amanda, do you see any harm? I understand that some of these are county roads. We don't have as much control. A lot of these developments are pushing back, and fortunately, we have a larger buffer between the roadway and the subdivision. But is there any harm in ensuring that if we have a rear yard that backs up against a city street, we have the same viewing corner triangle as it did on the front street?
I think it's worthwhile for us to take a look into our ordinance to see if there's a way to make it clearer so that we do have some flexibility in the future. I'm just not sure how often we may actually see this situation come in the future, because typically, the trails aren't running through developments. It's mostly sidewalks. And so if there's a concern about sidewalk crossings with the clear view triangles at rear yard property lines, that might be a situation where it would be helpful to have that ordinance be a little bit more clear. But Director Boyk and I can definitely chat about it some more.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Commissioner Britton. Any further questions or comment on item 8.2 regarding the Clearview Triangle? Okay. On to item 8.3, Planning Commission requests. I think based on our previous conversation here, we want to ask staff to maybe see what other communities are writing into their ordinance requiring Clearview triangles on side and rear yard setbacks. Additionally, maybe see what their language looks like as well. Commissioner Britton, would you agree with that request?
Yes.
Okay. Any additional requests for staff? Okay. At this time, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Commissioner Britton.
I have a motion from Commissioner Britton. Do we have a second?
Second from Commissioner Rasmussen.
Second from Commissioner Rasmussen. I'll defer to roll call. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Britton.
Aye.
Commissioner Rasmussen.
Aye.
Commissioner Bigham.
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher.
Aye.
Commissioner Frazier.
Aye.
Commissioner Knable,
Aye.
and Chair Kambata.
Aye. Thank you, everyone, for your time tonight. Meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.